Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and Pokemon fans of the world, Mega Crashers here, and I want to welcome you guys to our follow-up video from the Hoopa-Unbound Smogon Suspect Test. Now, as I have made reference to in my last video, where I said that I was going to be doing a follow-up video, unlike my video where it had the rage warning tag in it, where it had my personal biases and everything, this right here is going to be 100% right down the middle, fair and balanced as always when it comes to something as serious as this. But, you see, I'm not doing this alone. Oh, no. I happen to have a very special guest with me, and his name is PomMan! His channel will be in the description box down below, so I highly recommend you guys go check it out. And with that being said, PomMan, would you like to open things up for us?
Hi, I'm PomMan. This is actually, I think, the third time we've tried to record this.
Yes.
And it's not been fantastic so far, so let's hope that this one actually works.
Third time the charm, man.
Yeah. Yes, I saw the rage warning video, and I was entertained, and I immediately asked... we're both friends with Matty Brawlock, so I asked him if we could meet up and do a collaboration video, which we're doing right now. I am on the pro-ban side of the Hoopa debate. I put up my own video explaining my own thoughts on it, but to summarize, it has essentially no prospective switch-ins. Like, everything gets 2-hit KO'd, and everything is at risk if you're trying to switch it in. And I know that's reliant on Hoopa predicting, but you can't really say, my way of checking it is hoping he doesn't click this move, because that's not really good. Not only that, it also has, I believe, a negative effect on the metagame. It's very restricting. It prevents you from using Pokemon that you'd otherwise like to use, to an extent that is too much, in my opinion. And the various ways that bulkier teams have to get around it, I feel is unreliable. And I'd like to make it clear, it's not a perfect Pokemon. It has flaws. The only perfect Pokemon is like Arceus and maybe Primal Groudon. But a Pokemon doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be flawless. It doesn't need to excel versus offense as much as it does versus stall in order to be ban-worthy. And in general in this discussion, I do believe that Hoopa's flaws are not large enough to outweigh its numerous positive attributes.
Right, and I 150% agree with everything that you're coming from there. When you made your comment in the video, it's like I saw nothing but logic there. I mean, and I completely agree with it. Hence why, again, I wanted to have you take part in this follow-up video, because when you do collab and discussion videos like this, having more than one person's perspective really adds a good dynamic and good diversity to it, because you have more than one person's opinion. So it isn't completely one-sided. Now, obviously, in my rage warning video, where it had my personal biases and some comedic rage in it, I had stated that I didn't want this thing to be banned. Now, my neutral perspective in all this, right down the middle, I'm analyzing a lot of, not just what you're saying, but what Matty Brawlock is saying, because he made a really informative video on it, too. I haven't yet finished the video, but, 7 plus minutes into it, I'm just like, wow. The guy makes a lot of killer points. And I'll even go one step further to give his channel and his video a plug in the description box down below. I highly recommend you guys check that out too. But after, putting together everyone's perspectives so far that I've heard on this, I'm just thinking, it's like, you know what? The pro-ban reasons slightly outweigh the no-ban reasons, just slightly, but think of it this way. You have a Pokemon with base 680 for a base stat total. You have base 160 and 170 for offenses. You have a move pool that is deeper than the Atlantic Ocean, for God's sakes. The thing is just so versatile. Like, you can literally build you could build a team and whatever your team lacks, Hoopa can slap on. It's easy. If you don't have a fire-type move, well, guess what? Hoopa-Unbound can learn Fire Punch. If you don't have a fighting-type move, well, guess what? Focus Blast, Drain Punch, there you go. If you need Dark-type spam, well, guess what? Hyperspace Fury, Knockoff, there you go. The thing can run a physical set, it can run special, it can run mixed, and the thing is just so versatile. I mean, yeah, sure, let's not forget about the fact that it struggles against hyper offensive teams, but that's where Choice Scarf comes in, and you can get proper outspeeds and at minimum 2-hit KO the majority of the metagame, if not everything of the metagame. It does somewhat well against balance, taking out slower threats, and against stall, completely eats it. It can 6-0 stall. Wouldn't say 100% of the time, but it has the potential to do so. So, for my neutral perspective, I definitely think that it is very, very much ban-worthy, because it's essentially a free mega. I mean, base 680 base stat total. It's essentially another Kieran Black. Sure, it's not bulky like Kieran Black, but it's got a deeper move pool, and it's got a slightly higher offense, especially in the special attack with base 170 versus base 120.
And well, I believe the way that I put it on your video was I don't honestly understand why the offensive wall breaker stronger than Rayquaza has to be good defensively in order to be broken.
Well, exactly.
And that sort of sums up my opinion, but on stall, the way that I've seen people dealing with Hoopa is sack something, like sack the Quagsire or something, the most useless mon, and then they have to win a 50-50 with their Scarf Pursuiter or their Choice Band Weavile stall. Let's just reflect on that for a moment. They have to win the 50-50 with that as well, because not all Hoopa necessarily are choiced. I mean, yes, Pursuit is a solid way to deal with choiced Hoopas. What about Life Orb Hoopa, or when lure sets or Expert Belt or Substitute Hoopa become more popular? And they will if it stays in the metagame. The metagame will adapt to the choice Hoopa sets, and Hoopa will just adapt back because it's got such a huge move pool and everything. I honestly, it has flaws. No one realistically thinks that Hoopa has no flaws. If they do say that, they're either lying to you or they're lying to themselves, because they're wrong. Absolutely. But the flaws that it has aren't enough to outweigh the numerous positives that it brings to a team. I mentioned in my own video on this subject that you can have a team with 5 offense breakers, if you like stall breakers and wall breakers and whatnot, offense breakers like Mega Alakazam, Scarf Excadrill, insert other Pokemon that's strong against offense here, like Talonflame or something. And then if you can have those 5 and then throw on a Hoopa, and you've got a relatively good team, because Hoopa's just that good versus slower teams than it. Like, it eats up half of balanced Pokemon, and the half that it doesn't is dealt with by the anti-offense Pokemon, and it just it destroys stall so often, and it's unbelievable in my opinion.
I completely see where you're coming from, and I can honestly say that from even a neutral standpoint, I agree with you on that, like, for sure. Like, the thing, when you're able to invalidate completely an entire playstyle, that being stall, and take out half of balance minimum, then there's a problem. There is a big problem, because you're completely invalidating and shutting down an archetype in the metagame, being stall. And that right there isn't healthy, because it limits team building, in my opinion, because it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to want to fucking use stall because Hoopa-Unbound is running around and fucking my shit up in the ass. So it's like, yeah, looks like we're going to have to go for offense. And sometimes offense doesn't always work either, especially if it's a Scarf variant, because offense is less bulky, and with base 160 and 170 offenses, it can take advantage of that too. Like, it's so versatile. Sure, it's slow, base 80 speed. and with the fact that it's got base 60 defense, it being open to physical attacks and being able to be taken out easier, doesn't mean taken out entirely, but taken out easier. I mean, there's some notable flaws, but I feel like that, you know, after a time of thinking and after, you know, taking a neutral perspective into this, I definitely can say comfortably that, like I said, its flaws are outweighed by its strengths, and even slightly, but still, it's enough to tilt it towards banning, because it's Uber-esque kind of thing. It's an Uber-esque Pokemon. Like, let's face it, right?
It's quite unbelievable, just how strong it can be. And offense as a playstyle invalidates it. Although, let's not forget, it does have a usable Scarf set, and it has Latias level Special Bulk. That's not insignificant.
Hell no.
But yeah, in general, it does struggle more with offense. But it's such a risk-free Pokemon to use, and it skews basically all risk and reward into the user of Hoopa's favor. Like, if you're in versus a Clefable, you're no longer wanting to soft-boiled when you've taken a hit from the Mega Lopunny, because if the Hoopa comes in, it gets a kill. That's kind of an issue, and it's so in favor of the Hoopa user, even if it's not brought in, because it's made them think, I might want to just attack here, and I might just have to lose my Clefable if I get it wrong. And yeah, you're not always going to get it right. Prediction goes both ways. They can predict you, you can predict them. But the advantages that Hoopa offers, with next to no downsides. I mean, what do you need to have a good Hoopa support? Volt Switch and U-turn to get it in safely. A good bug resist, so that you've got something that can take a couple of U-turns.
Like Skarmory.
Like hazard removal, I guess, or hazard support.
Yep.
But what about that is different to any other wall breaker, though? I mean, I could say the exact same thing about Mega Gardevoir, or about Kyurem Black, or anything like that. And Hoopa just takes it to the next level, because it's just so unbelievably strong. I mean, it has, I think, 4 sets, Choice Scarf, but aside from Choice Scarf, literally every Hoopa set can 2-KO the 2 most bulky Pokemon, both specially and regularly, in Skarmory and Chansey. Both of them are 2-KO'd by every Hoopa set. I don't think that there is another Pokemon that can claim that.
No.
And it's just so powerful, risk-free, that, aside from Kyurem Black, yeah. It's just so powerful and risk-free that I want it banned. And I'm generally not a very ban-happy person. I argued against the Mega Sableye ban, I argued against the Mega Metagross ban, and we won those times.
Thank God.
This is just too much. Too much, in my opinion.
Yes, because the thing is, it's essentially another Greninja. It can run next to every single stab, aside from like a couple, and it is so versatile. And yeah, sure, you could say it's like a glass cannon from the physical aspect, but even still, though, that doesn't justify enough why it should be banned. I mean, yeah, sure, like with Greninja gone to Ubers, it's been reduced to a mediocre Toxic Spikes suicide lead, at least from my opinion, until you showed me a really, really awesome team built around Greninja. I'm just like, damn, man, I'm gonna have to try that shit out, which, by the way, I will in a very near future video of mine, so I want to thank you for shooting me that team. Ubers
is my meta game. Greninja isn't the best, but it's fun to build around, and occasionally it can work. So yeah.
Of course, it all boils down to opportune times, right? Getting back onto the whole Hoopa-Unbound topic here. honestly, it's like like I said, the thing is like is another Greninja, except it's 10 times more powerful. And it's not a total glass cannon. I mean, as I said, sure on the physical side, but on the special side, it's got, like you said, Latias-like bulk. And Latias, offensively, is bulky as it is, right? So, I mean, the thing isn't 2-hit KO'd by the majority of special attackers. Even Latios fails to one-shot it with a Life Orb Draco Meteor. So, I mean, it can just Hyperspace Fury that thing into oblivion, or Dark Pulse into oblivion even, right? And for the fact that, sure, it's weak against U-turn, and U-turn spam is very, very, very present. It is so
good.
It's so good, right? But the thing is that, sure, it can work against Hoopa, but it also works for Hoopa too. And here's the thing. It also boils down to prediction as well. I mean, sure, you can predict your opponent to bring in Hoopa-Unbound and just U-turn out, and then even if they don't bring in Hoopa-Unbound, you can U-turn out and bring in a Pokemon to counter that Pokemon. The thing could bring in Hoopa-Unbound and then kind of threaten you out, and thus the opponent could play mind games with you, right? So, it's sort of like 50-50. It's like, yeah, you know, U-turn and Pursuit can work against Hoopa-Unbound, but under the right circumstances, it can work for Hoopa-Unbound too. And that kind of goes without saying for any Pokemon you want to build a team around, right? Like Kyurem Black, like Mega Metagross, Mega Alakazam, things like that, right?
But yeah, it's also a brilliant teammate for so many things as well. Like, I touched upon it briefly, but lore sets, like if you're using Hidden Power Ice Hoopa when they're expecting you to be physical and bring in their tank chomps, you can just destroy that and then your Lopunny wins the game. And it's so good at what it does, and what it does is so customizable to every team, because like, if it had a crap move pool, then maybe it would be okay. But
yes,
it doesn't. And if it had base 30 speed or whatever and was outsped by everything, then yeah, it would have enough flaws. But its speed is decent enough for its job, and it's so good at what it does for the team support that it gives that it's broken, in my opinion. In my genuine opinion, it is too much for the OU metagame to handle.
And I agree. I mean, a lot of people can say, well, what about Kyurem Black? Kyurem Black is bulkier, it's faster, it's got a better typing than Hoopa-Unbound. That is true. But here's the thing. It has, when you compare its base 170 attack to base 160 attack for Hoopa-Unbound, yeah, it slightly edges it out with physical attack prowess, but when you compare its base 120 special attack to Hoopa-Unbound's base 170 special attack, yeah, the thing can be mixed, and it is a very good mixed attacker, but it's not as effective as a mixed attacker as Hoopa-Unbound for a long list of reasons. Its stats being one of them, and its move pool being another. Its move pool isn't terrible, but let's face it, with Kyurem Black, you're forced to run mixed sets because it has no physical ice-type moves. It doesn't have Earthquake, so you're always forced to run Earth Power to deal with things like Rotom Wash and Excadrill and all that stuff. And, you know, it's like you're never able to run a fully effective physical set. And it's kind of limiting for Kyurem Black. It's not a bad Pokemon. In fact, it's one of my favorite OU Pokemon, but it's not comparable to Hoopa-Unbound in my opinion, in that regard.
The flaws that it has, the flaws that Kyurem Black has, are large enough that it's kept in check in the OU metagame.
Yes.
Like, I can list 5 or 10 checks to Kyurem Black. It's not many, and it doesn't have any counters because it can run Hidden Power Fire and fuck over half the list, because it's like Ferrothorn and Mega Scizor and whatnot.
Yep.
But if it's specially biased, Chansey can deal with it. If it's choice banned, like Skarmory can take outrages if it needs to. And the fact that you said it was decent, it had a better typing. I actually don't think it has a better typing. Like Hoopa has perfect coverage in 3 moves. It's 2 stabs and a fighting type move.
Oh yeah, no, I was
Black
talking
can't
about
claim
from a
that.
defensive aspect. Offensive aspect, it's
Even so,
Hoopa-Unbound is better. What's that?
Yeah, even so, like, Ice is not a good defensive typing.
No, but then you factor in Dragon. It's like, okay, it's got some good resistances.
It's okay. You can check
but,
mana and whatnot. Yeah, get what you get, but it's still not a fantastic typing. But its flaws are large enough and its checks are widespread enough, and it's not as bad, not bad, but like broken bad, as Hoopa is. You can deal with Curum defensively.
Yep.
Which you can't really do with Hoopa at all.
Nope.
The way to beat Hoopa is to be offensive.
Yep, and even with some of the bulkiest Pokemon gets KO'd by Hoopa-Unbound.
Yeah. And Hippowdon drops to physical Hoopa. It's too much and should probably be banned, in my genuine opinion.
Yes, and from a neutral standpoint, as I've said before, I definitely can vouch that for you. I can definitely say that I see where you and a lot of other people are coming from. Factoring everything that's been said and done so far in this topic of discussion, for Hoopa-Unbound and all that stuff, it's tilting towards ban, and I can definitely agree and see it to it being banned. Of course, from my personal biases, I don't want to see this thing banned because Hoopa-Unbound is the first Pokemon that I really dedicated my own time to really sitting down, analyzing and breaking down the Pokemon and building a team around it. I mean, sure, like, I have a whole bunch of other teams, but I had people help me build those teams. For Hoopa-Unbound, I didn't ask for any help. I was like, okay, I need to do this myself. And it turned out to be a pretty well team. I had, let's see, I had Hoopa-Unbound and Mega Sableye as sort of like my core kind of thing. I also had Sylveon, Skarmory, Latios, and Tank Chomp, and it did very well for me. It's not an invincible team, and I definitely think that the team could, in fact, improve. I was actually thinking of switching out Sylveon for Unaware Clefable, because it's arguably better than Sylveon, in my opinion, from a utility standpoint. But, yes, for all that being said, though, I definitely think that the thing should be banned from a neutral standpoint, and I can definitely vouch and agree with the people that are pro-ban. I also agree with the people that are no-ban, too, because they bring up good points, too. Like, as I said before, with Matty Brolick being the kind of person that he is, where he analyzes all things from all angles before he comes up with his final opinion. He's a no-ban, and I agree with what he's coming from. Unfortunately, though, I don't think I can see this thing living this suspect test in OU. I think it's going to be banished to the shadow realms of Ubers, So, yeah.
Well, I'd just like to briefly comment on that. I can completely understand why people don't think it's broken and why they don't think it's ban-worthy. Offense keeps it in check, it diversifies the tier, raises pursuit trappers, makes people think creatively, and I can understand biases. If someone gets Rex, they are completely entitled to vote in whatever way they want. And if they want to keep Hoopa, even if it's for not great reasons, if it's for, like, they want to keep Hoopa because they like Hoopa, that's fine. That's their right. That's the entire process of democracy. Like, we can't complain about that. And if they want to keep it, all the power to them. It's just that I disagree with that viewpoint, is all. And if you're watching this video, please don't think that we're trying to say Hoopa should definitely 100% be banned, and you're wrong if you think otherwise, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to explore as to what our feelings are on this and explain why we have the opinions that we have.
And also, it opens up the fact that we're going to be, that this is all from a neutral standpoint. Our personal biases are similar, but they're also different too. You are obviously you're pro-ban on this whole thing, which I 150% respect. I'm no ban on this thing personally, but professionally, I can see it being banned. But that's just my personal analysis. It's something not to take to heart, take with a pinch of salt if you're watching this. We respect the opinions of every person that brings, their own version of the discussion to the table. Right?
Logical argument is what I'd say. If someone's saying, don't ban it, I dislike stall, like, they're entitled to that opinion, but I don't take that opinion as seriously as someone who will logically say, I don't think it's broken because X, Y, Z, and things like that. I respect arguments more than the positions that they lie upon. Is the basis of my. If your argument is, I think it should do this because this other guy said so. Okay, good for you. You're entitled to that opinion. I'll go talk to that other guy and see if we can have a discussion about it, because I'm interested in the points as to why that position is there. I'm coming across like a bit of a dick here, but it's hard to explain adequately. But we do respect people who disagree with us, and if you do disagree with us, let us know, and we'll be happy to discuss it and see. Like, you might change our minds. You might convince me that the pursuiting and the offense weakness and everything is enough to counteract the effects that Hoopa has. I'm personally biased to it because I generally don't like very offensive metagames. I'm kind of in a minority on that one, but I find more diverse metagames to be more enjoyable just from a team building aspect. But I can completely understand why people enjoy it and think that it should stay. It does have a lot of downsides. It's just that narrowly, I feel like the strengths outweigh the cons.
Exactly. And sure, Hoopa-Unbound brings more diversity and more planning to the table, like, planning to face against Hoopa-Unbound, but and I mean, that's all good. Like, I'm all for diversity, I'm all for challenges, I'm all for adaptation, but there are times where you gotta think, okay, maybe this is like a little too much. Like, for Greninja, for example, that thing was just way too reliable. It was way too reliable, and people were constantly spamming it, constantly using it, and it could just run any 4 moves that your team lacks in coverage. And same with Mega Mawile, for example. The thing could set up a Swords Dance and Sucker Punch everything into oblivion. The thing was literally too powerful. It was too broken. And Mega Kangaskhan even. I mean, sure, Ghost-type Pokemon counter the shit out of it, but you shouldn't have to spam Ghost-type Pokemon just to counter that one thing, right? You shouldn't have to build a team just to counter that one Pokemon, because then that's where the over-centralization factor comes into play, and that's not good for the metagame.
A lot of people do throw out words like over-centralization and whatnots, and it's difficult to define them, but I do feel like this is a case where the centralization is too much, and like Mega Metagross was one where it wasn't. Yeah. Because like it doesn't invalidate, and invalidate is a word I'm trying not to use because it's so very tempting to use it, but I'm not going to. It makes using anything slower than base 80 speeds much more of a liability than it was otherwise, to an extent that I personally feel is unhealthy. And that's where this whole thing is kind of iffy, though, because it's all so subjective. Like, do you think that this is this much is unhealthy, or do you think it's not unhealthy? And it's difficult to decide, but oh well. I think I've said most of my piece here, to be quite honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
With your side of things, I definitely understand and agree with where you're coming from. Like, a lot of what you're saying is solid and sound points, and they are fact. A lot of it does revolve around opinion, but your opinions are well versed and well articulated, and it makes a lot of sense. And for,
the voice helps.
Absolutely, and you know that's why I have you on this video, is because I feel like that you bring a very interesting flavor to the table. Like you're obviously a no ban, and I'm you're pro ban, and I'm personally no ban.
Wow. Oh, wow.
What's that?
I was just surprised that I was no ban. I didn't think I was.
Yeah. I'm
pulling. That's all.
Yeah. No, I got that mixed up. You say that you're pro ban for Hoopa-Unbound, right?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm personally no ban on Hoopa-Unbound, but from a neutral standpoint, I'm like, okay, I can see why this thing's gonna be banned, and I can kind of understand why it would be banned, because the thing is just so reliable and so over-centralizing. It invalidates not only an entire playstyle, it chews out more than half of balance, and it also, like you had pointed out, right, it also points out that any Pokemon with a lower than base 80 speed kind of makes it like, yeah, should we even use that? Because Hoopa-Unbound with base 80 speed, yeah, that might not be that might not be very good.
Yeah.
So,
oh well.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you want to add on on here?
Not particularly, no. Thank you very much for having me here, taking time out of your day to incorporate the fact that I live in Australia, which makes scheduling really difficult. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, no problem. It should be me that thanks you for taking time out of your day to help me out with this video. It definitely makes this video a lot better, in my opinion, because rather than having one opinion, you got two opinions, and both bring very interesting facts to the table. You know, you're pro ban, I'm no ban, but you know, right down the middle, I can see this thing being banned, as I've said previously before. And I definitely think that with what you said, definitely adds more perspective to this whole situation, which will make those that see this video have like different thoughts on this whole thing, because like I said, rather than listening to one person talk about it, you're listening to two people talk about this, and they're they both bring up really good points. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please feel free to slap on a like. Let's see if we can aim for 5 likes. And also, as I said before, I will be leaving a link in the description box down below to PomMan's channel. Definitely check it out. Cool cat, great guy, very well knowledged. And I will also leave a link in the description box down below to Matty Brawl's video, because it is very well sounded, very good to watch. And especially for all the ladies that like buffed individuals. Well, he happens to have his shirt off in this video, so you know, go nuts in that regard, right? So, in all seriousness, PomMan, I want to thank you guys. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to help me with this video. Definitely means a lot. And yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, as I already said.
Thank you very much, and guys, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give this a like, and also be sure to rate, comment, share this channel, share this video, and subscribe today to Mega Crash in the community, because you already know the deal, my name, my friends. When we're a community, tightly packed and tightly knit as one, you know full well that we shine brighter than the sun and the moon combined. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next upload. Woohoo!